Hello, everybody, and welcome to Life on Mars. I'm Alex, CEO and founder of MarsBased. And in today's episode, I bring you what has happened in the last 6 months of MarsBased. We are sharing the reflections of the first half of 2025, in which we are experiencing some kind of transformation in the company. And I want to share in all openness and in the spirit of transparency, which is one of our core values, what has been happening inside the company. We started the year really well compared to the last 2 years where things were a little bit more shaky. In 2023, we started off losing a couple of big clients. 2024, we were in the midst of also some kind of market transformation in which contracts were shorter, the sales cycles were longer, and projects got postponed or paused, or they were in a turbulent state, so to speak. 2025 has started in pretty good shape for us. We have been able to have a stable pipeline of sales. We have been able to increase the team. That's something I'm going to cover a little bit farther down the line. And we have been also extending contracts and selling longer contracts than we have sold in the last 2 or 3 years. I mentioned in previous episodes that the market had changed since August 2022, more or less, when the tech stocks were in heavy decline and the M&A industry was really slow. The VC landscape was drying up for a lot of startups. Therefore, the market was not as bullish as it had been in the past, and therefore people were more skeptical about longer investments, longer contracts, and maybe doing more conservative approaches to their projects, downsizing their teams, downsizing all the efforts, and maybe planning in a more like short-sighted manner for most companies, because they were running out of time, running out of budget. In the case of startups, if they were VC backed, or if they were corporations, they were maybe more tied to shorter term plans and to smaller budgets. That being said, how did we start this year? As I mentioned, we were able to start a few new projects with some of the existing clients that we had, and that we increased in size the kind of projects. For instance, whereas we had started with only the website development for Everesting, which is a sports brand client that we signed last year, then we started this year doing something bigger for them. We went from doing only the WordPress website to creating a full-fledged app for their Hall of Fame, for their community of people who have completed successfully an Everesting challenge. And that is something that we have built in-house here at MarsBased with a team of 3 people, and also setting the foundations for a long-term maintenance of the project. What else? We have also increased the team at a company that we had signed a few months ago that is called Olafly, which is a company providing electronic SIM services for not only individuals, but also for companies. As a matter of fact, we started giving them services only in Shopify, and now we're helping them to build the entire B2B platform so that they can service companies. Funny fact, we had used Olafly in our annual retreat last year when we went to Andorra. We had to buy SIM cards for everybody in the team because it's not in the EU, and therefore we would have been charged with heavy roaming charges for a team of 20 going into that beautiful country. And so this year, if we had to do it again, we would be using our own platform, our own B2B platform for Olafly. What else? Another thing that we've done this year, this is significant, is we turned 11. And while it is not as significant as it was last year, because the landmark of the 10 years was a turning page for the company, and that gave us some recognition. We appeared in the newspapers. We had clients flying from abroad to Barcelona to attend our big event of the 10th anniversary of MarsBased and of Startup Grind, which, as a matter of fact, we haven't released the keynote I gave at that event. I know right now as I speak, David, our marketing person, is working on that. So it will be released very soon on this podcast. It will see the light of day for those who couldn't attend the event last year. It will come with 1 year of delay. but I think it's still very relevant and very interesting for most people who want to learn more about MarsBased, Startup Grind, and what we have been doing for the last 10 years. I don't know if there's a lot of new learnings from last year to now, but most learnings concerning sales, branding, team management, specialization versus being a generalist, company culture, remote work, and all of that, they are enclosed in that episode. So it should be out very, very soon. What else? I got a ton of things to cover here. I try to be as succinct as possible because I don't want this to go for very long. But another thing that is happening in the company, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, is that we have hired a significant amount of new people. Up until 2025, up until the very beginning of this year, we were hiring only 2 people per year. And so the company has grown organically and in a very natural way by increasing the team 2-3 people every year. Maybe if a year somebody left the company, we hired a 3rd or 4th person. But the team was very organic. It was very slow. It allowed us to cement the foundations for the new hires. Every time we hired somebody, we really took the time to have him or her adapt into the company, give him or her all of the time to accommodate into all of our workflows, our working philosophy, our company culture, and whatnot. And this year, we have decided to take it up a notch. We had realized in our 10 years meeting with my co-founders that perhaps we had been playing too conservatively for too long. And I'm going to explain this a little bit better. What I mean here is that pretty much every year, we capped our growth by only hiring 2 people. And we had numerous times in the past the occasion to grow even farther, but we turned it down. We turned these occasions down because we thought, okay, maybe we're able to make more money this year. We can increase the revenue if we hire 2 or 3 extra people, but that would come at the expense of something. And that something would have been the quality of the outcomes, the team structure, or the team satisfaction, or maybe we would have been the founders, the management layer, we would have been more stressed. And we didn't want to strain neither the company nor the relationship with the employees or between the employees and us. And so we have always tried to have this very slow and sustainable growth. But I think that we did it for too long. And the reflection was the following. On the one hand, we never wanted to increase the team for more than these numbers, right? On the other hand, there was this thing whereby we turned down multiple opportunities to work on projects whose technologies we're not an expert of. And so we could have done Python earlier on in our company life. We could have worked using React into 2014 and 15, but we decided to turn down all of these requests. And for instance, we started doing React actively, I think should have been around 2017. And so we lost a lot of opportunities for the first 3 years of the company. We turned down Python until 2 years ago. So for the first 9 years of the company, we never did Python. Like we never did Scala or Java or .NET, right? And we will continue not doing most of them, right? Why? Because we relied always on our focus, on our specialization, and because we wanted to err on the side of quality and our quantity of the services and technologies we work with. And that has proven to be the right strategy for many, many years. And while it has been the case that confirms our suspicion and confirms our strategy, the truth is every year, more or less, we have experienced or we have had to deal with a technology that we were not entirely comfortable with, but we decided to give it a go. For instance, in 2015, late 2015, early 2016, something like that, we were approached by a company that wanted us to do mobile development. And I remember that 2014, our friend Sergio Gago tried to hire us for mobile development for Rakuten, where he was the CTO, and we turned it down. But 1 year later, another good friend of mine came and she was the CEO of this human resources company and said, I want you guys to do our mobile apps. And I said, well, yeah, that's great, but we don't do mobile. And she said, like, no, you're going to do mobile. So we decided to split the risk and to share it between the two parts. And turns out that the project was very successful, right? And not only we were able to deliver it on time and on budget, but also that technology, that platform that we developed, helped them to ultimately sell the company in 2019. Big thanks to our technology. Um, like experiences like this or situations like this repeated over the course of the years. In 2017, we were approached by our biggest client, who at the time we were doing Angular for, and they said, "Do you guys also do backend development with Node.js?" I was like, "No, but we could give it a go." We got somebody in the company who has experience, who really wants to work on Node.js, and I said, like, "Well, time to give it a try, right?" I was successful. That was one of our biggest clients for 5 years. And so it was another successful experiment. And we did a few more like this. I remember we give it, like we tried the experiment of working with Go for a company called Spin in the US in around 2018, 2019, something like that. Worked really well. We did an IoT project, went really well. We did an AR project for Moody's, went really well. We will share it soon on our social media blog and the portfolio. We did some project with AI. And so we've been doing all of these experiments. And at the very end of the day, they have all been successful. And more than that, I think that most of these projects have worked better than some of the projects we have worked on where we're specialists on the projects. Maybe because we managed the expectations better. Maybe because they were more enclosed, they were more defined. The risk management was done more correctly. I don't know what happened there, but I know that is that's something that we assessed with Xavi and Jordan. We said, look, all of these experiments prove that we are a company that can build pretty much anything, right? So why don't we stop saying we don't want to do certain technologies, and at least publicly, and we decide on a case-by-case basis, right? And that's our new approach for this year. As a result of that, we haven't started any new technology. All of the projects we have signed this year are with technologies we had been working with in the past: Python, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript. On the mobile side of things, React Native and stuff like that. But at least we are deciding, on a case-by-case basis as they come. We're like, okay, we could do this project. Doesn't really fit what we do, but it is interesting for the company. We'll take it. Or maybe we want to have this company as a client, and we'll take it, right? So we're more open. The other thing we have changed is we have decided to also gear up in terms of team, and we have incorporated 6 people since the beginning of the year. We have incorporated both backend and frontend developers, project manager, and also a marketing person. And that, that could have strained the company. That certainly shook things a little bit when all of these people, more or less, they join around the same time. And so it was pretty stressful for a while because we had to do a lot of onboardings, 3 times more onboardings than we do in a regular year. And they all happen in the span of 2 or 3 months. And so not that we're not prepared for that, but we had to concede a little thing, some things here and there, and some projects, they took a little bit longer to complete, and we had more rotations than usual in the projects. But now all the dust is settled, and I think that we are in a better state than we were 6 months ago or even 1 year ago. And we're really happy about the team configuration we've got right now. And this has proven to be a very bold move, risky perhaps, but not as risky as we could have done in other situations when we were approached by a big client sometimes in the past, and they're like, okay, can you hire 20 people, 20 developers for me this year? I'm going to pay for all of that. We said, no, we could have done it. Would have been risky. That definitely would have strained the company. That would have strained the team, the company culture. And we decided to turn down that really, really good money because also we've got a lot of principles. So what else? I've talked about team. I've talked about the in general company direction in terms of sales. As I mentioned, well, covered a little bit briefly what we did with clients. I mentioned in the case of Everesting, Olafly. Those are the new clients that we signed in the last few months. We signed also with Dreaming Languages, a company co-founded by one of our ex-employees, Pablo Roman, who was on the Spanish feed of the podcast. So we're gonna leave the video right here. So if you want to watch it, it's very interesting how he transitioned from being a freelance developer for us in 2016 for 3 years, more or less, to being a founder of this community of people learning languages. And they started with Spanish, now opening up French, and quite possibly expanding to other languages in the mid future. We also signed another project. It's more sort of an MVP for a company called Tops Technica in the industrial sectors, a data visualization platform. MobiTrace. What else? We re-signed a couple of clients that we had stopped collaborating with in the past, like Travel Tax Free, for whom we do Shopify services, and Localistico, which is a client that comes on and off, depends on their funding and on their state, but are really happy to work with them because they're really good people. We always enjoy it, and they really value the quality of our code, and so it's always a pleasure to collaborate with people who appreciate this kind of things that we offer. We have increased the sales quota in terms of Shopify. Shopify is a technology that's built on Ruby on Rails, and therefore we have extensive experience working with that. Our first client with Shopify was signed in 2015. This is the German company Zaptails, which we have uninterruptedly been working with them since 2015. It's a great company to work for as well. So, but outside of that, we work for other companies like Singularity, Freshies, Tax Free, and a few more. We have agreed a new project for September, although it's technically not signed, for another consultancy from Barcelona. They want us to design and implement their corporate website, which is it's an interesting challenge, and hopefully we'll help them with a pivot they are undergoing right now. And I don't know if I'm forgetting any other. All of this comes also from it's a derivative from having increased the team. The fact that we hire a marketing person allowed me to focus much more on sales, and therefore I don't have to juggle between marketing and sales, being a one-man band for both departments of the company. Not only that decreases the risk, but also that increases the quality of my outcome. If I'm able to focus much more on sales, I can be more on top of every negotiation, doing the key account management, doing the renewals of the contracts for the maintenance, upselling clients, increasing prices here and there, negotiating new projects, or proactively offering new services and products to our clients, things we can help them with, like cybersecurity or AI or redesign or refactoring or a byproduct or some consulting services, right? And David is working much more on covering me on the marketing side of things. He's taken over the podcast. So you have seen the increase of the quality of the podcast is remarkable. Also, we have been much more timely in the cadence of the publication of the podcast episodes. He's helping me with scheduling, production, so all the even like some scripting, or appearing in the podcast himself, and so this separation of concerns helps to be much more focused and in the spirit of another company culture trait that we've got, which is less is more. We are able to do better outcome of our work by focusing on single areas, right? In fact, another thing that has increased in my focus on sales, I'm being much more on top with the relationship with our clients, and that translates to having many more in-person visits to our customers. So we have been to the Basque Country to visit nights. We have been to Valencia, visit a couple of clients. I go to Madrid more often, or in-person visits to clients around Barcelona, like Nieves Energia, for instance, that have been there on numerous occasions, and also visiting their new offices. So we have more time and dedication for that, and that also translates to better relationship with the clients and more long-term vision, and also better sales. So that's overall a very positive thing for the company. One more thing about the team is that we have decided to rebrand some of the levels of the people in the company. Up until now, we did have the layer of developers. We did have another layer that was called the tech leads, which were some developers, more senior developers juggling time doing project management and more architectural roles in the project. And while that had been a role in the company, we decided that right now is a function that you can be a tech lead in a project, you can be a developer in another project, depending on the project necessities, depending on your skills as well, right? And so, but we have incorporated, as I mentioned, project manager, and we have another figure, another role that it sits on top of the tech leads, that is the engineering manager, which is a it's a role that should help Xavi, our CTO, to decouple, to split his responsibilities and duties so that he can be more focused on certain decisions of the company, more like strategic vision, helping in sales, helping on doing the one-on-ones with the people, and delegating some of the technicalities of the trying new technologies or certain complex challenges to this other role that right now is covered by our good friend Juan Salvador, who is also working shoulder to shoulder with Xavi and helping to manage the rest of the technical team. That is interesting. That is a company. I mean, in terms of maybe growing the company, we don't want to increase in middle management, because we know that the theory says that when companies increase the middle management, that's when things start to go south, because you lose the connection between the lower strata of the company and the founders. In our case, we're not as big. That will never happen. Everybody will have direct line with Xavi, the CTO, or with me, or with Jordi. So that's not a concern. We understand that this happens when companies, they start overhiring, they go into hockey stick growth, and then all of a sudden they went from 1 year being 20 to 200, or from 200 to 2,000, right? That's not our case. That's not going to happen. At most, in a given year, instead of hiring 2 or 3 people, and up until last year, we'll hire 6, 7, maybe 10, I don't know. But that will not create a lot of changes in the structure of the company. That forced us to work more on building career plans, investing more in HR, in people operations, and stuff like that. Our good Ellie is working on that, and I think it's very challenging and rewarding at the same time to have these new mentally stimulating challenges, because at a certain point, it sort of felt a little bit like a routine. The company was doing the same thing year after year, and therefore we were starting to get comfortable. We're pushing ourselves a little bit out of the comfort zone, and I hope that translates, or it is already happening. It is translating into better sales and more stability for the company. Just kind of to wrap it up, marketing and sales, a bit of an update here. As I mentioned, David has taken over pretty much everything in marketing. As you have seen, the newsletter is back after almost 2 years in hiatus. Not only he managed to revive it, it's back on good terms in numbers and in click-through rate, open rate, and all of that. Not that we care a lot about metrics, but it shows that the newsletter is in good health. So thank you for reading it. And now we can share more stuff than we usually do in the newsletter, sort of a recap of what happened the last month at MarsBased, but we will maybe experiment with other stuff. We'll announce there are events or webinars if we decide to do so, or if we launch something, some new marketing assets and stuff like that. Or if you missed the podcast episodes or other collaborations where we have appeared. As I mentioned, the podcast, great. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing it with people. Thank you also for suggesting speakers. One thing that you could do if you, first off, and you made it this far, and I know it's a big ask to watch for videos this long of only one person talking, rambling for half an hour. Leave a comment down below. I'd really appreciate it if you're on YouTube, because that shows that we're doing this for somebody, and it's really and gratifying when we see that people are actually watching and commenting. The second is send questions. We are recording a few episodes of Q&A in the next month, and we have more time and availability to do it, either for the C-levels, maybe for Ellie, maybe for the project managers, for the developers, for the designers. Let us know, or more than happy to answer pretty much everything and anything you might want to ask. And the website is always changing as well. If you take a look at we're publishing more portfolios, more blog episodes, more new services, more stuff. It's more and better. I'm really happy with the new direction of how things are going in the marketing department. In terms of financials, people usually don't expect that, but we do share our financials every year. We share them on the Be Water page, the Be Water blog. They share the most capital efficient companies in Spain, for instance. There's a ranking. We're usually there in the top 10 as a company that was founded only with 3,000 initial euros of setting the company, and that's it. And right now, I think last year we closed with 2.5 million in revenue. This year we're projected to do 3 million. We're close to 250,000 per month in revenue. So I think that is something that's pretty relevant for a lot of companies out there. It's inspirational. It certainly would have inspired me a few years ago to see these kind of numbers from a company I look up to. So that's why we're sharing. We want to give back to the community, and we want to inspire new people to create companies because we know it is possible. So if you're out there wondering if this is truly worth it and it's possible, it is. You have to put in the work, and you have to believe in yourself and follow. I'm not going to say follow your dreams, because that's pretty bullshit. But really, if you want to do a great job, you have great relationship with people, they respect you, and you're good at what you do, you should give it a try, definitely. So that's why we're sharing. So stay tuned for the updates on the financial side of things, as with our open metrics of revenue and profits and all of that. We are very lean in terms of our, I wouldn't call ourselves frugal, because I think that we spend a lot on stuff that really, that we should be spending on, like, buying the best equipment for people to do their jobs. And we have a company retreat every year and stuff like that. A frugal company wouldn't do that, but we are pretty lean in our spending, and we know how to review all of this spending every 3 months, every 6 months, every month, depending on the company department, and cut unnecessary costs where it's possible. Because as a bootstrap company, every penny we spend, it's a penny that we have earned and worked very hard to get. So money doesn't come for free, but we are the masters of our own destiny when it comes to money, because we don't rely on external investment like other companies do. And maybe a few words on technology before I wrap it up, but that's something that I really want to cover with Xavi, with our CTO. But we have standardized our tech stack, our technical stack. That's something that we had done in the last 2 years, more or less, but it has consolidated using Ruby on Rails as the first option for building new projects, unless clients want another technology, in which we will always say, like, look, okay, we can do that with Node.js, with React, no problem. That's going to cost a little bit more. If we are in charge of choosing the technology, we can be more efficient, we can be faster, and the project's going to be cheaper. So, it's a trade-off. but at least we can be flexible and offer all kinds of options to our potential clients. We have been working more on security lately because of the undergoing changes in the technology landscape when it comes to cybersecurity, or because we have been working with corporates that they do require more technical and security audits every now and then. And so therefore we're incorporating this as an offering in the company, or as a de facto part of every project we start. We are going to give our clients some security guidelines so that they don't share passwords on Slack. They use encryption on the hard disks and stuff like that. Give and take the permissions and roles to the right people and revoke them when they are not in the project or in the company altogether, and pretty basic stuff like that pretty much nobody does. And who knows, maybe we're going to go into providing some cybersecurity services. We are preparing ourselves for the NIS2, which is going to shake a little bit the industry like GDPR did a few years back. We're already working on this. And generally speaking, more proactive in terms of working with security and keeping things up to date. Like our documentation, our handbook is a little bit more up to date than never before. Same goes for the security and technology guides that we've got on our handbook that we have published. Check them out. I think they're really good. They're really interesting because right now they will be reviewed every 3 to 6 months. And so, they're always going to be up to date and relevant for everybody. And that's pretty much everything. Maybe what can you expect from MarsBased in the second half of the year is the consolidation of all the things that we that have described this far. Maybe doing more with the people we have after this initial 6 months of settling with the new team or the new incorporations to the team, and certainly also working in a much more solid way with the new clients that we'll have more understanding about. We'll be able to produce more and better work for them. In terms of projects, some clients we're finishing the assignment or the contract with them. There's going to be new ones, hopefully increasing a couple of them. We're having really advanced talks with a couple of our clients to increase or even double the size of our teams there. And more visits to clients, as I mentioned. So visits to New York City to go visit Moody's and Citadel Security, for instance. Visits to Basque Country again, to people in Nice. Visits to maybe some of the other clients that we got scattered around Europe, like Zaptels in Germany or Blueprint in the UK and stuff like that. And maybe sharing more what we have been doing, because the first half of the year has been more of internal processes, optimizing, refining, and fine-tuning. Second half of the year, if time permits and projects permit, we will be able to share more learnings, more of our internal trainings, internal processes and documentation in the shape of blog posts, of podcast episodes, of live events maybe. We are hosting a first live event or a webinar. I think it's going to be a webinar first, then in person with an AI consultancy from Barcelona and an AI workshop. That's something that we're going to pilot in September, see how that goes. And then, keep refining the company and preparing for 2026, which is going to be a very exciting year if 2025 turns out to be the really good year that it's projected to be. That's it. I think that's all from me right now. I don't want to go any longer. I think it's been long enough. Thank you, as always, for being here with us. Thank you for following the journey of MarsBased and for being so supportive. Feels good when we send out something, a tweet or an email and or a video, and you reply. So keep doing that. Keep sending questions. Keep sending feedback. Keep sharing this with other people you like or who you think they would enjoy this kind of content, and keep being yourself. Until the next time, I'm out.